Well, hey guys, and welcome back to Catching Up with Cameron. I'm your host, Cameron Mitchell, and today I am bringing on Canadian football player RJ Harris.
What's up, y'all? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell me, RJ, where are you from?
I am from Maryland. I'm from Anne Arundel County, Maryland. It's a small little county.
And your parents were both military parents, right?
Yeah, they were both in the military. So I wouldn't say I was a military brat because I was born towards the end of their stay in the military. They were both in the Army.
At any point, was the military in your future, or?
Honestly, no. As for both my parents to be in, they did the long haul. They both were in for 20 plus years. It never really crossed my mind to want to do the military thing. To be honest, I always knew I wanted to play professional sports.
Okay.
I knew it was going to be in basketball, football, baseball. I wanted to play something professional. I didn't care what it was. And
why sports?
I just love sports growing up. I absolutely loved it. I always loved being outside. My parents, they never really let me sit in the house and play video games. That was never me. They were always like, here, take this ball, go outside.
And what was your favorite sport when you were younger?
Favorite sport, basketball.
Tell me then, how did you get from basketball to football?
Like I said, starting so early at 3, from the time I was 3 all the way up till my senior year of high school, I played, basketball. That was my number one sport.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of got burnt out. Every summer, my summers didn't consist of normal kids summers. Summer is done with school. A lot of kids just go home and they just stay home all summer. They chill, they play games. They get to go outside, hang out with friends. My summers consisted of traveling state to state, playing AAU basketball. We went to Florida every year for about 6 or 7 years straight for AAU tournaments. And it kind of got to the point where I was just burnt out of basketball, and I wanted to try something different. I wanted to kind of step away because, like I said, from age 3 up until that was about 15 years straight, it's just the same thing. I needed a change of scenery, needed something new. And that's where football came in. And like I said, I started later in football, so it was all fresh to me. And that's kind of how I got into that switch to football.
And so while you were in high school, you broke a Maryland state record, didn't you, for total number of touchdowns in a season?
Yep, I did. My senior year, I was fortunate enough to play with a great quarterback, played in a great system with a great head coach, and we threw the ball a lot. We threw the ball a lot, and I was just fortunate enough to be there at the time. And I set a couple of Maryland state records. I believe it was touchdowns in a season, touchdowns in a career. It might have been career receptions and receptions in a game. I broke a couple state records. I just knew I was going to be racking up Division I scholarships.
Right.
I knew I was going to the Power 5 school. I thought I was going to University of Maryland. I knew I was going to go Division I.
Right.
Start all 4 years. Go straight to the NFL, first round draft pick. That was my mindset, just like every other high school kid. That's the goal. And reality set in, and none of that happened. I had 0 Division 1A scholarships. No Division 1A scholarships. Like I said, I was really small and I was really slow. Mm-hmm. But I was able to compete, and that gave me my edge. But a lot of those big time colleges, they were looking for size and speed at the time, which is what I lacked. I didn't have that.
What were you feeling when you weren't getting any of those Division 1A scholarships? How did you feel defeated at all? Did it put you down?
Oh yeah, I was hurt. It hurt. Like I said, my entire goal, I had it all mapped out from the time I was 5, and I knew what high school, college, professionals was. I had it all mapped out. I knew where I was going. I knew I was going to Division I. I knew I was going to the NFL, like I said. Mm-hmm. And for that, early in the stage, for it not to happen, and it just threw me off my original plan. Mm-hmm. It kind of hurt, but at the same time, it lit a fire under me to go harder, to make sure that I was put myself in the best position to accomplish that next step of my goal. So I was all conference team my freshman year, and I realized I do have what it takes to play and compete at this level. Okay. My red shirt junior year, so I was already a senior in school, junior on the field. That's when I realized I'm still making some noise in the football. I might have an opportunity to take it to that level. I knew I wasn't getting drafted day 1. I knew I wasn't getting drafted day 2. I thought maybe I might sneak into day 3 and go like 6th or 7th round. I got a couple phone calls during the draft. 7th round, the Rams called me. They told me they were going to take me. The Rams pick came up and they took somebody else. And I was like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, I just talked to you guys. After their pick said they just took someone else, the draft ticker came on and said that they traded for another pick. So they had back-to-back picks. So I got hyped. I was like, all right, this is me right here. And they took another receiver. That wasn't me. I was like, you know, like, what's going on? So then the draft is over. I'm hurt. I'm crying my eyes out. I got my family there. You know, I wanted to be drafted. And I was just crying. And my agent was like, look, we don't have time for this. Like, teams are offering you undrafted free agent priority contracts. So, you know, I sat down with my fam, my agent, and we were like, the Saints gave me that opportunity to come on as an undrafted free agent. And I jumped at the opportunity. And that's kind of how I transitioned into that from college to the NFL.
So you get released from the Saints for good then, and then you end up with the Falcons, correct?
Yep. After the last time I got released from the Saints, I came home. My agent was like, you know, like, what do you want to do? Like, are you comfortable with keep going back and forth to the Saints, or do you want to try somewhere else? And at this point, I was like, you know, like, if someone else is going to give me another opportunity, a fair shake, let's try it. So that's when I signed with the Falcons, and I finished off that season with the Falcons on their practice squad.
Well, you keep talking about this fire that gets lit within you. So seriously, tell me, like, what ignites that fire? How can you keep being told by people you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, and keep going? It seriously is, like, blowing my mind right now. Like,
yeah, so I knew I had to prove myself right. Like, I've been playing my entire life, you know, and every team that I played on, I dominated, I broke records, and it's like, all right, so why can't I do that now? Like, You have to keep going until you do that, and that's where I was at with it. That was probably one of the roughest years of my professional career. Like, that was when I was transitioning from being cut from, you know, out the NFL for good to going up to the CFL. And in those first couple months of the CFL, I think maybe it was about 3 months. I was signed to about 4 different teams, thinking about literally hanging it up. And I was year 3 of being a pro, and I was down and out. Like, that was one of the times where I was being cut and told no. All those times, that's when it really started to weigh heavy on me. Ottawa, they called my agent. Thankfully, I did, because within the first, I think, 3 weeks, injuries started happening, and they activated me to my first professional game. So it took me 4 years to play in my first professional active regular season game.
That's so impressive, though, that you just kept going, that you just kept hustling.
To stay with it.
Donald Trump accidentally tweeted you one time when he meant to tweet another RJ Harris. Really funny, but I love that you used it to your advantage to promote that youth training camp that you were hosting. So can you tell me a little bit about, like, what started that and why you were doing that?
So I just, you know, being back home in the off season, like, I'm always trying to find things to do, stay active. You know, I've always been into, like, the training, like, adults. And this time when I came home, I wanted to be more involved with training kids. You know, I grew up in, like I said, I've been in Anne Arundel County pretty much my entire life. I grew up in this football system. So it's like, you know, I've been around the professional ranks for a long time. Like, why not give some of that knowledge back to these kids? So while I was here, I was like, let me host a football clinic. Why not? You know, and having some success at the high school, collegiate, professional level, a lot of people back home in my town, they really support me and get behind me. So I was like, this is my time to use my platform and, you know, put something on for these kids.
How has coronavirus affected your life as a professional athlete so far?
Well, I mean, we were the only sports team to not have, or professional sports team to not have a season. We didn't have a season at all last year. So it took a whole year away from, you know, from us CFL athletes. But in the grand scheme of things, like, I look at it as just glass half full. You know, I got to spend an entire year with my family, with my girls.
Well, if I could ask any of your teammates or your closest friends right now 3 words to describe RJ, what would they say?
Competitive, sarcastic, and reliable.
Well, guys, once again, that was Canadian Football League wide receiver RJ Harris, who plays for the Ottawa Red Blacks. RJ, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me, and to all your followers and everybody listening, thanks for tapping in with Cameron. Appreciate you.
Thanks. Have a good one.